But before I go, I'd like to leave you with this thought. An American missionary called John Chow died this year, a Christian missionary trying to bring the gospel to the world's most isolated tribe, the North Sentinelese, who killed him in a hail of arrows when he landed on their island. Do you know what he did to try to relax them as he approached? When he got off the boat, he took off his clothes and approached them in a pair of black Y-fronts. There are Christian groups saying he should be a martyr. He might even become a saint, the patron saint of daft cunts. It was his third visit to the island. On a previous trip, someone shot an arrow through his Bible. If only God had given him some kind of sign. He didn't bring Christianity to the North Sentinelese, but he did bring them the concept of homoerotic suicide. He hasn't died in vain. A pelican has made a nest out of his pubic hair and the remains of his Bible, and his rib cage is now a monkey's xylophone. And he didn't totally fail as a missionary. As he died, he whispered the story of Christmas into the ear of a seagull. He learned some of the North Sentinelese language, so he understood the final words he heard. Aim for his underpants, someone yelled as their top marksman split his cock in two. His last act on Earth was to piss himself in 3 different directions at once, casting rainbows like a Las Vegas fountain. He didn't give them faith, but the North Sentinelese will continue to learn from John Chow as his rotting body introduces them to every virus since Napoleon. And yet, really, I think the only thing John Chow is guilty of is something that most of us are guilty of: colonialist attitudes. British people, Europeans, Americans, we all grow up in the ruins of some kind of empire, and we tend to carry the attitudes that made them. You don't need to be right-wing for your thinking to be a product of empire. If you feel that you and your friends are some of the only good people in the world, that other people's consciousness needs to be raised to the level of your own, if you think that the religions of countries your empire fought wars against are barbaric, but the one they used to justify themselves is a certain Baroque charm, that's all post-colonial, privileged, white nonsense. Aren't we all, on some level, walking towards people with a big smile on our face and a pair of black Y-fronts? And yet, whatever happens, John Chow was right about one thing. He will be forgiven, as will his killers. We will all ultimately be forgiven, not by Jesus, but by death. The universe will also die. Forgiveness is everyone's ultimate destiny, because eventually there will be nobody left to hold a grudge and nowhere for them to do it. You will be forgiven because one day, it won't be an actual day because the sun won't exist, the concept of forgiveness will be forgotten, as will the concept of forgetting and of concepts. We will all be forgiven by the heat death of the universe. Merry Christmas.